Hi, I'm Michelle Cooper, and I'm going to paint a watercolor painting of an iris field in full bloom from this reference photo of mine. My first step is to do a value study. Value study helps me to eliminate the things that I decide I don't need in the painting and to check whether I have a good composition. To make my value studies, I prefer to use watercolor rather than pencil. So I'll either use ivory black from a pan of watercolor, or I'll mix my own black by combining ultramarine blue, and that's actually burnt sienna. Ultramarine blue and burnt sienna together, though, will make a really nice, dense black, or any value, lighter or darker, in between. You can test your values on a piece of watercolor paper to see if you can get dark. Then you add a little bit of water. You get medium and even more water, and you'll get light values. Now I just add more paint and less water to increase a value on my composition, create maybe an area of interest or an accent point. Now I can start the foreground by putting in a few brush strokes of a lemony yellow. I'm trying to follow my value study, saying that there will be lighter here and darker here. That means I can add more yellow again. Yellow right on top of the existing paint, mixes in the way watercolor does. Then blue to make it green. And each time you do this, it's a little bit different. So the paint kind of rolls down the page and creates a really nice little foreground for you. A bit more cobalt violet mixed with manganese blue. There's a nice little purple, and that'll all connect together there. That's the color that it is. All right, and I want to keep it lighter at the top and a little bit lighter at the bottom, a little bit darker at the top. Get rid of some of the paint that's too dark just by lifting it off with a thirsty brush. While I was waiting for it to dry, I drew in with my pencil just a little kind of indication where my buildings might be. And then this is where your value study really comes in handy, because it tells you where you can put a lot of paint and not so much paint. It almost even doesn't matter what color it is, just that you get the right tone or value. So if I put this value in here like this, and then push it out this way. Now everything, see, this is a light value, a pale value, so I can actually go around everything here. Anything else in my value study it says is darker than this, so I don't have to worry about putting the right colors in here, just the right shapes. All right, so that's a little bit of cobalt blue. Then I wanted to make maybe more purpley looking building there on one side, the darker part of it, where the value study says to make it darker. So put a little bit of just dropping in the color again, and then it fades out to get lighter again. Then in the background here, I can use that purple again. You can use dioxazine violet or make your own purple. This is supposed to be a slightly bluer mid-tone here. There you go, mid-tone. Not too dark, not too light. This will show some trees eventually. And then over here, I can put some darks in there now. I forgot a few of the sky holes that I meant to put in there, but that's okay. I'll put darker paint there and it'll do that. Well, another thing you can do too is you can just I don't normally do any blotting, but I do need a few light spaces there, so just blot that off. Now this paint is dried here, and I'm going to go for some of the darker values. It's called keying a dark. So if I use raw sienna and some phthalo blue green shade, I can cut in around some of these important shapes, just like I have in the value study here. make sure that I have the right shapes, and then change them into trees. Right over the previous wash there. Don't forget the sky holes this time. Something for the birds to fly through. Okay, I don't want that all to be the same color all the time, so every now and then I'll add a little bit of blue in there, dropping the color in and then letting it mix with all the other colors. Keep the tree shapes going. Let's see, this edge has to be like that. As it gets toward the edge here, it's okay if it becomes just a little bit less colorful. Look at the value study, see where I need to bleed off some of these colors so that they're not quite so strong. Add a little water and stir. See how that really pops out the foreground now, doesn't it? Because we have the darks in there. I'm letting this dry just a little bit so that I can come back in and cause a gradual recession into the distance with some of these middle ground trees. More interesting trees closer to the area of interest. Now that looks very close to my value study. Now while we wait for that to dry, we should mix up at least 2 different kinds of violet to represent the fields. They have to be pale. See, in the value study we said that was going to be a light area, so that's a pale cobalt violet right there. This is a little bit darker. Mix a cobalt violet with cobalt blue, and I've got the shadow side of the field. So now if I go in and I make sure I have the right value of my cobalt violet, I can sweep across here and create the lightest value for the field. It's going to take a minute for that to dry a little bit, but we can test how they're going to blend here, these two colors. Just dropping in a few of the iris colored cobalt blue and cobalt violet there. Now in the value study it says this is much darker and this is much lighter, so that's what's happening here. That's good. I said that there was going to be a little accent right here, so if I just make a little bit darker cobalt blue and cobalt violet, and then I just kind of touch in a few marks here as if there were extra fields or extra rows. Now if I come back and rinse out my brush and then soften these edges, that'll melt right into the previous wash. Give us a little accent up here where the houses are. Okay, this is still really wet, so if there are any drips that you don't want, you just lift them off like that. I think I could use another little accent, maybe right here, as if it were a bush or shrubbery or some blackberry vines. See what we had right here in our value study? So I can do that also in the sort of wet area here. Medium tone. Maybe add some of that green into here too for part of the shrubbery of this. Okay, now I have to let the field dry so I can go back in and put in some more color. Well, it looks pretty dry already. Let's put a little bit of cobalt violet in there and see what happens. Yeah, it's working. Keep it light, keep it pale. When in doubt, dry it out. This is a pretty relatively small space, so you don't have a lot of room to fiddle around with color. Maybe I could use a few more of these little cobalt violet strokes in here too. Yeah, that gives it a little bit better color harmony in the foreground. Maybe add a little bit of the cobalt violet in the background here, so that has color harmony as well. Now this has been allowed to dry a little bit, and I put a few little dark accents into the buildings so that I can come back in with a glaze of cobalt blue, about this light of a glaze. If I do that all over everything here, then I can keep the same value relationships that I said I would have in the original painting. So I'm going to mix up a nice little puddle of that, make sure that it's about the right value here. Yeah, and then I can come back in and I can put a glaze across everything here, including this edge of the building. Leave a little space for the light side of that building, and then come back in, glaze all the way across here for that part. This gives us a little bit more dimension there. All right, and then I can go on through the whole sky, starting out at the top here, just glaze across everything. Go ahead and pull that glaze all across everything, all the way across down here like this, all the way down to the bottom. You can still see those background things in there, and that means then I can go back in with a little bit of cobalt blue and put some of the color right on top of that cobalt violet, make it look more blue violet than red violet, and the value stays pretty much the same. And I can go get a few more of those little blue violet touches into the foreground, just in the area in my value study where it says we could use an accent or two. Now let's get this melted in. We have color harmony. Okay, and then I could put a bit of a shadow across here on the roof and underneath here. Now, just a bit of a streak of a shadow across the roof like this. And there we go. I put a little accent of a red chimney on that roof there for interest, and then all we have to do is sign it, and we're done. Thanks for watching. Hope you come back another time.